Hey everybody, Hoosier Jedi here with another review for you. This time I'm talking the Flash episode Legacy, and here we have our season 5 finale, and it's a little uneven, but all in all, there's some pretty strong stuff here. So let's kind of get right into it. Um, the cicada stuff, I gotta say, I'm kind of glad this all got wrapped up. Grace really was not quite working for me as a character. And the bit where they're like, okay, we convince young Grace to take the cure. It's like, all right, it's a little landed on a little thick, but okay, Grace choosing, as a kid, Grace choosing to be the better person, to let go of the anger, that's good. I like that. It kind of would have been interesting if she could have gotten a little bit more of a better look at like what she would have become in the future if she continued down the path she was going. That would have been cool, but Cicada versus Uncle Orlin, it worked well enough. But the whole thing, like she gets the cure, everything seems fine. Then I'm like, oh no, the dagger negates the cure. It's like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. Then it just completely negated the moral choice that young Grace made, the really difficult choice. So there are no real consequences of this choice. I mean, granted, she did make the right one, and that says something. But if there are no legitimate ramifications from it, and okay, that means that she made the choice and that she still became evil adult cicada anyway. What the hell? The choice is essentially okay. Worthless. And I mean, of course, they had to have the dagger be destroyed so that they could turn Thawne loose. But still, it's just such a disservice to the character. Really, really, it is. And kind of like a moment that I was like really excited about. Like, okay, she's chosen to walk away from being cicada, and we're going to get to see something with some real emotional resonance here. And then instead, it's just like a kind of a bullshit plot twist instead. Now, they did at least roll with it in a way. We get to see, evil future cicada dissolve from the timeline in a nice, satisfying way. Of course, the way, alternate realities, time travel, you never know. There's probably going to be some sort of a way that we can see her again. I mean, speaking of which, they did use this episode to sort of have Thawne say the negative speed force can shelter speedsters from changes in the timeline, which does finally give us a legitimate reason as to why he continues to exist, even though his ancestor Eddie is dead before he had children. They did manage to reverse one version of Eobard from reality over on Legends, which was really cool and extremely satisfying to watch him get what he had coming to him. Still, um, well, you don't want to get rid of a villain like Reverse Flash, so you have to just kind of roll with certain things. I did like him kind of giving that half-hearted apology to Cisco, and sort of like, yeah, hey man, sorry about the thing there. And then the team goes and kicks his butt, which was quite satisfying. And I did like that they pointed out, had him go like, Ralph did me, but you're dead. Because like previously we had information telling us that on the night of the particle accelerator explosion, Ralph was one of the casualties, along with people like Beatrix DaCosta and Grant Emerson, who were fire and damage, other DC heroes. Oh yeah, and Al Roth, Atom Smasher. Um, Now, granted, they kind of messed that one up on Atom Smasher later on, but okay, we're just going to say, like, okay, it's kind of clarified that yes, the whole thing with Flashpoint, Ralph is alive because of the changes from Flashpoint. And probably, presumably, so are the other characters. So I guess the particle explosion killed fewer people, or it killed different people, which is entirely possible. So nice going there, Barry. Anyway, I did like, generally speaking, what they were doing with Cisco here. Not so much for his motivation. I mean, there's nothing that says he can't just sort of like just put away the costume and just sort of focus on being Cisco. He doesn't have to get rid of his powers. But I did like that the scene where he revealed the whole thing with Camilla was very well written, very well acted. I mean, Carlos Valdez, great job there. And I like that Camilla was a very reasonable person about it. She says, I don't think that she needed to go and say, I know the comic book tropes with secret identities. It would have been simple enough for her to say, I understand why you kept this from me, and I don't hold it against you. I think that was simple enough. Um, so that was nicely done. I always like it when you can see on shows like this people being mature, reasonable people in situations where it makes sense that they would, could hash out something with a reasonable conversation. They're both, Camilla and Cisco are both two adults here, and yeah, that was some good stuff. Um, let's see. Nice send off for Sherlock this episode. So they can bring him back if they need to. Probably not going to be seeing too much of Earth 2 Harry anymore. So a Harrison Wells whatever, a Wells they can tap into if they need that. Yeah, that works. That works. Even a few nice little moments for Caitlin this episode. And of course, this all sort of builds up to the changes in the timeline that start to erase Nora from history. And I love how I was right about this, that this was all a con by Eobard. And despite all of that, he was genuine in his affection for Nora, the same way as he previously stated. He genuinely had that affection for Cisco. Not that it didn't stop him from killing Cisco in that other world when it suited him, but even here, he was somewhat regretful of it. And he even says, and he's being honest, that he cared for Nora, and that she had shown him what it was like to have a daughter. And as much as he's being a bastard here, he does tell them, like, okay, if she goes to the negative speed force, this can save her. So he even tells them what they can do to save Nora's life. Again, it's at the end of the day, it's all about Eobard Thawne, but there's that tiny, tiny bit of being able to care just a little bit about other people. I mean, that's kind of like the one little tiny bit of redeeming factor he has, is that he is capable of genuinely caring about other people. But if sacrificing those other people to benefit him shows up on the table, he'll do it without hesitation. And let's not forget, he also takes the time to torment Nora by telling her, nothing you do can save your father. So he'll both save Nora's life and inflicts emotional torment on her just for his own sadistic pleasure. It's really bizarre. But I think that's kind of what makes Thawne such an interesting character, is that he can both care about people and be willing to make their lives absolute hell for his own amusement. It's a bizarre contradiction, but Tom Cavanaugh really makes it work. And to be fair, contradictions are a big part of what make characters interesting. And I did like that Nora made that decision to, like, no, I'm not going to give in to the anger that would be required to survive in the negative speed force. I'm going to, suffer the consequences for all of these terrible decisions that I've made. And I'm going to be grateful to my parents for showing me what it really means to be a real hero. And yeah, Nora made a lot of really bad decisions, but she did ultimately, like Grace, make the choice, the hard choice, the choice that results in being a better person. And the choices that make us better people are usually not easy choices. She did die a hero. And I like how Iris and Barry, they summed it up, that she was the best of both of them. Now, again, this all did still result in the Crisis on Infinite Earths accelerating. It's going to happen even sooner. But if you've read Crisis, you know that this is a pull all the stops out story. And with all the craziness in all this, do you really think it's that unlikely that somehow, some way, Nora couldn't pop back up in Crisis? I think it's possible. And boy, am I excited to see Crisis on Infinite Earths. And one thing that I didn't notice is when I was watching the episode, but I saw other people pointing online, that at the end of the episode, Ralph is looking through this file that says Dearborn on it. And that's the reference to Sue Dearborn, who eventually became Sue Dibney, his wife, in the comics. Seeing this season, Ralph sort of lamenting that, he's going to be alone so much. He's not destined to have somebody. Setting up a legitimate love interest for him next season would be an interesting thing, especially since we've been hearing how Carlos Valdez is probably going to be leaving the show, or at least as a regular. He'll probably pop back up from time to time, and I'd be shocked if he didn't come back for Crisis on Infinite Earths. But if that happens, then Ralph sort of stepping up and taking more of a role, that would be, a pretty reasonable thing for the writers to do. Let's see. Anything else? Yeah. I think we're good to go, folks. Definitely looking forward to season 6. Real curious to see who the big bad of that season is going to be. Anyway, guys, until next time, take care and have a good one.